Welcome to the episode 2 of the Go CLI Essentials. I'll be making the to-do CLI in this episode, and let's lay up our workspace. So I'm initializing the Go project do we did in episode 1 and open your favorite IDE. Mine is Visual Studio Code. So as we did, let's create our to-do file. I want to lay out the main task that I want to do. Or define an item. Then we'll define the repository for the items, that is the to-do collection. We'll define the method to add a to-do to the collection. We'll define a method to complete the collection, to complete the to-do. Then we have the method to delete a to-do. Of course, we need to save it to a file. And after saving, we need to retrieve it from the file. Everything we're doing in JSON format. So let's start with the first one. We'll create a type struct for our to-do item. And the last one is the completed act, also a time variable. The next is to create a repository to hold our to-do. It's going to be a type as well of slice of items. So the first method, don't forget the difference between a function and a method in Golang is by adding a receiver, which is to do a list that we added as a receiver. So we're creating our add task method. First, create an object from the struct that we created initially. I'll try to make this on a pointer so that we're able to modify the to-do list from within the method. Then we append the to-do to the list. Don't forget to dereference it so that we add it to the underlining list. Underlining slides, So the next one is to complete the to-do. So it's also a method that have a receiver. Alright, so we need to take the position of the to-do. So we're returning an error in case something happens. So first we get all the lists in a temporary slice. But since it's a temporary slice, it also has a reference to the underlining list. So we check if the index is less than 0 and also it's more than the length of the list. Of course, it doesn't exist, so we return an error. But if it exists, then we set the completed act and the completed parameter for that particular index. I remember slice in Golang is also 0th index, so we need to deduct 1 from it to have the actual index. So we set the completed to true, and we also set the completed to the present time. Next up, for the delete functionality, don't need to recreate the wheel, just need to copy and paste, then change something since they have the same logic. You need to check if the index is less than 0 and also the index is not more than the length of the list. So we need to create a new slice from the list. And just need to remove the element by slicing through the first to the index element, to the index of the element, and then spreading the remaining from the next element to the last element of the list. All right. Next method is to create the function that saves the list to a file. So also we need to just copy and paste. Now we need to specify the file name. So next is to use the JSON package to create a JSON payload from the list. The JSON package .marshall indent returns two values, the JSON doc itself and the error. We check for errors, standard programming. If there's error, it returns the error. But if there isn't any error, then we write the list to a file, that the formatted list using the permission 0644. Next up is to read what we've saved into the file. We should read what we've saved into the file. So the same process, but in this case is reversed. We need to first read it using the OS package, using the file name. Also returns two variable. Two values, returns the JSON byte itself, and it returns the byte, and it returns an error. So we check for errors. If there's error, it returns the error. But if there isn't any error, it returns it. But the error that we are checking, we need to check if the type of error is that the file doesn't exist. So it doesn't return the error, just returns a nil. So that shows that it creates the file. So, but if there isn't any error, it checks if the JSON byte, if the length is not more than 0, as 0, so it returns nil and nothing is there. Other than that, it unmarshal it, unmarshal the byte, and returns it. So this is our basic to do CLI. Now that we've written our services, let's write some tests for it. We'll create our test.go file. First of all, let's remove this ugly yellow line. Right, so we are putting this in the todo_test package. Normally, every file in the same folder should be in the same package, but test is an exception. So we check for the test you want to make. Let's align it. Test to add, test to complete, a to do, We also need some other test to delete. Then we need test to save, and also test to get. Actually, let us collapse the save and get to one test. Yeah. All right. So to write a test, there's a template. So the name of the test must be in caps lock, in capital letter. So that in uppercase, so that it will be exported as a test. So we create a to-do. We create a reference to the to-do list, and we create a task name for us to add. All right, so we write our normal tests. So we check if the name of the task is same thing as the task name. Then if it's not the same, we throw an exception, throw an error to show that the test fails. If it doesn't, it passes. Let's run our tests. After doing that, let's run our tests. Right. So we run our tests by executing the go test command. So it looks like it passes. All right. So again, if you don't make it an uppercase, it's not going to see it as a test. Visual Studio Code also recognize this. So let's move to the next test. The test to complete a to-do. So let's just copy and paste it and make some changes. So we need to first add a test to the list. Then we test if it is completed already before we even complete it. Right, so then we complete the test and we test if it is completed. So notice that we're passing the index of that of the to-do, and since to-do is a 0 index, we've already entered that in the service. So we run our tests and it passes. Right. What is success? So the third one, we just don't need to reinvent the wheel. Just copy and paste, and we'll make some changes to test delete. The same process, but in this case we need to add more than one test so that we can be very sure we're actually deleting add more than one task. I can be very sure we are deleting the exact to-do that we need to delete. So we'll create a list of tasks, and we'll add it into the list of to-do. So in this case, new task 1, new task 2, and new task 3. So we call the for loop for on range is better. Let's use range. The range of task. Next up, we check for the task. To be very sure that we actually added it, so we need to know if the first of the task is actually the same. If it is not the same thing, it's gonna throw a failed test. Next one, we delete an item, and After we delete, we test if we have actually deleted an item. I think I need to test if the length first. So if you actually delete one of the item, the length should not be the same thing anymore. So we need to test if the present length is 2 as against the 3 list of tasks that we created. All right, so let's test our oh, nice. So it worked. Okay. So, but we need to test one more thing. At least we need to know if we actually deleted the item that we deleted. So we need to be very sure of that. So we need to be very sure that we deleted the second item that we actually intended to delete, not just any random item. And the second item on the list is the index 1. So we need to check that. And of course, we write our failed message if nothing passes. Okay, so let's run our test again. All right, so it's successful. Nice. So the last but not the least of the test, so we need to write a single test for both save and get. Since we are saving to a file and we already get it from it, so I think one test suffice. So like we do, so we create a function to receive the testing module. I'll prefer to use different lists. So I'll create 2 lists to instance of the list to hold both the get, the save, and the get. So the list 1 is going to be used to save the list, and the list 2 is going to be used to get the list from the file. First things first, we need to add a new task. We'll call the add task method. On that, I think we should also test if it actually added it. Yeah, to be very sure, so we don't skip a test. All right. Same as we've been doing so far, would create exception message if nothing passes in this method. Next up, we create a temporary file just to hold our lists and get from it. So we use the OS package to create the temporary file. I'm not giving it any name for now since it's just a temporary file. And it's going to return the temporary file, and if there's any error, it's going to return the error. So we check if there's any error. If there's any error, you fail the test right away. But if there's no error, then let's clean up the resources. So we use the defer function, the defer functionality in Go to clean up the temporary file once the method finished executing. So we use the OS package as well to remove the temporary file. So we pass the name of the temporary file. All right. So now let us save it. Since we have the name of the file now, so we can, and the file has been created, so we save the list into the file and we check if there's an error. If there's an error, we fail the test right away. Now that is done, so we need to test. That was a test for getting to now. Let's test for saving. So now is the let's get the content of the file into list 2. So we are testing get now, the get functionality. So same as we've been doing, we get the name of the temporary file, and we check if there's an error while getting the file. We put it in L2, and if there's any error while getting the list from the file, we fail the test right away. I think I should add one more test. Yeah. So this is just to ensure things work the way it should be. So we are checking for the first for the task if it is in the first one and the second list. So we will be sure that we are actually reading from the same file. We are saving and reading from the same file. Right, so let's run our test. There's an issue. Okay, all right. It's just we are passing past the reference, the pointer. Let's test again. Oh, there's a beautiful. Okay, so I'll use the import. Right, so let's run it again. What's that? Oh, yeah, we need to pass the task name itself. All right, now let's run it. So voila, the success. Okay, so this is nice, and we've written the unit test for all the functionality in the Todo CLI. So next, we'll start up our workspace for the CLI itself. So I'm going to create the main.go file inside the cmd/todo folder, and I'm going to run a package main.